Piers Morgan, 56, is currently preparing for the launch of Talk TV, where he will be presenting on the new Rupert Murdoch-owned channel. This, however, has not stopped Piers taking to Twitter to voice his opinion on Novak Djokovic's mother's statement regarding her son, who was subject to torture after being denied entry to Australia. The chief sports writer for The Telegraph, Oliver Brown, tweeted Djokovic's statement earlier today. He said, Djokovic, Novak was subject to torture, harassment. We will hear even more about what he has gone through. Piers responded in view of his 7.9 million followers, poor guy. Sounds almost worse than having a simple 2-second vaccine injection. Many took to the comments to voice their opinion on the situation. Cam Wood said, "Stop being so judgmental. If you don't want to have the jab, you don't have to. People who have been jabbed are still catching COVID." Jason 19 added, opening up the floodgates for every anti-vaxxer to demand to be allowed in Australia now. Hot Kicey woman commented, "Not the point though, is it? He made a decision for himself and one he is entitled to make regardless of whether you agree or not." The controversy began when Novak flew into Melbourne, Australia last week in preparation for the Australian Open title beginning on January 17. When Novak handed over his documentation, he thought he had a valid medical exemption to the vaccination rules, stating he had been infected with COVID last month and recovered. However, his documents were rejected and the tennis player was held in a detention center while he waited for his appeal to come before the courts. That hearing took place today, with Judge Anthony Kelly quashing the decision to revoke his visa after ruling that the medical exemption was valid and the tennis star had done everything in his power to prove he was not a risk. This means he will be allowed to stay in Australia, with the judge also ruling that border officials did not follow the correct procedures when Novak arrived. Novak was expected to join a news conference called by his family in the Serbian capital, Belgrade, but did not, tweeting instead a picture of himself and coaching staff at the Australian Open venue. In view of his 8.9 million followers, he penned, "I'm pleased and grateful that the judge overturned the visa cancellation. Despite all that has happened, I want to stay and try to complete at Australian Open. I remain focused on that. I flew here to play at one of the most important events we have in front of the amazing fans." At the press conference, Djokovic said about her son, "He was subjected to torture, to harassment, and we will hear even more about what he had to go through. And of course, he fought against that system and against the government because he thought he had the right to be there with a visa that he got." Piers has previously spoken out on the situation, asking an open question whether a famous sports star has the same rules as everyone else.